The most useful tips for Elden Ring Nightreign. At early levels you will have low stamina, meaning guarding attacks isn't a good option. Instead you are better off dodge rolling or strafing attacks. Next you have the training grounds in the main lobby. If you want to get used to a weapon's attack speed or Ash of War, you can get all expedition loot items from here. Also, if you want to get used to a character's skills, you can change the training ground options here. This saves you a lot of time from charging up the skill or waiting for its cooldown, and lets you experiment with it in many ways. All weapons have passive effects which can be seen on your status page. These weapon passives are also able to stack. You also want to be sure to equip relics. Relics are given after each run, and the further you get into the run, the stronger the relics received. You will also get relics for certain characters and relics that increase your attributes. These attribute relics should be used according to your character's preferred attributes. You can check your character's preferred attributes here. It also will show you your character's preferred weapon. You will want to use this weapon or weapons similar to this, as these weapons will highly likely deal the most damage per second for your chosen character. Onto your throwable items. These are super strong early, they do big AoE damage and can knock down mini bosses. You can acquire these by looting crates and chests or having a relic that gives you this item at the start of the expedition. You also have the item Weapon Grease, which also gives you extra damage, which lets you take out mobs in 2 hits instead of 3, along with bosses requiring less hits to take out. Another great tip is these blue stream jumps can be used in any direction you are facing. Also, when going towards them from the map, you want to approach them or mark them from the bottom of the icon. The eagle, however, will only take you in its default direction. Now on to two-handing a weapon, which will always be the better option if you're not going to be using your shield, as it increases enemy stance breaks faster and slightly more damage. It also allows you to use the Ash of War of the weapon. Some Ashes of War have a much longer range than others, and these can be very useful in boss fights. Next up, most of these bosses found in the open area should be fought on the second night and not on the first. Another boss tip is most bosses have a certain weak point area. This area will take more damage when hit. Weak areas are usually their head or areas that look wounded or open. For enemy weak points you can't reach, you can jump attack or jump off small objects. Jump attacks also help stagger the enemy and break their stance. So a few tips. I've mentioned stance breaking. All bosses basically have an invisible stance bar. Dropping this bar down to 0 causes them to drop down and allows you to perform riposte criticals. You can speed up stance breaking by using heavy attacks or heavy weapons like great axes or double handing a weapon. The final few important tips: you want to get at least 2 or 3 of the monasteries, as for those that don't know, interacting at the monasteries will give you an extra flask per monastery. Next, a boss's HP will not reset, so if the night circle is closing in, you can just get into the safe area and fight the boss for the night, and then the next day you will be able to resume your fight with the boss. Another good tip is to check the merchant for weapons, as they can have good weapons to use or even weapons with useful passive effects. They also sometimes give this consumable, which is super strong, as it lets you take damage from any single enemy attack while also increasing your damage. From the merchant, there's also consumables that recharge your FP, regain your stamina faster, or let you deal more damage or take less physical damage. These all can be and should be used at any boss stage, whether it be a day 1 boss or a day 2 boss. You can also get these items from the loot crates. The next tip: your guarding is a very useful mechanic which can help you learn enemy attack ranges and enemy movesets. Some attacks cannot be guarded. 2 examples of this is all enemy boss purple attacks. Another example is flame attacks from the Gladius boss. Now you always want to upgrade your weapons to blue or purple. To upgrade your weapons you need a smithing stone. To get the purple smithing stones you need to go into the caves. Once in the cave you need to take out the cave knight or the large mob, and this should be done on the second night. Also, pressing this key will show the cave route, while pressing the opposite key will show you the main map again. Another way to get this upgrade stone is from a merchant in this specific area, but it will cost a decent amount of runes. You can also upgrade your grey weapons into blue with this stone. When you have a good Ash of War, you should almost always buy the FP recharge item for the day 3 boss. Next, the best way to jump on top of flame chariots is either from jumping up from behind them or from the front by jumping onto this part. You always want to be spamming your normal attack when doing this so you're able to get into this animation. Wedding Grace self revives can stack, and it's usually the best option to choose from any buying merchant or from any boss defeat. The next great tip is a few skill have invincibility frames, 2 of which being Wilder's ultimate and the other being Iron Eye's dagger dash.